for the local today.
Better or worse?
They're better.
Good.
They're not dropping half,
Okay.
but like,
But it was only 32 real people, so.
yeah, fake numbers, 116
Okay,
and 13.8 for the positivity.
okay.
The county's down at 89.7, 7.3.
What are we doing?
Versus 103, Bucks is 87, Chester's 80.6, and Lehigh's 83.1.
And 8.6 for the positivity rate.
8.6
Yeah.
for
Lehigh.
Lehigh.
Okay.
I know
That's
their
correct, yeah.
numbers by heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not the highest in the county anymore.
Okay.
I mean, for the one week, there's a couple districts that are
It
higher.
moved around.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle,
Yeah,
probably a little. There's a couple that are in the 70s and 80s,
yep,
so.
wow. We're getting there. All right, well, I'll call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. It is 6:03 or thereabouts. And so I will first call for approval of, I guess we can do them together, June, September, and January's minutes for our meetings.
Motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Thank
No?
you for putting those
Yeah, thank you.
for us.
Yep. And all in favor? Aye. All right, so they are approved. And that's June, September, and January. Okay. Next, we will move on to discussion on NCIU membership services budget and the motion that will appear on our meeting in March. I'll turn it over to you, Dan.
All right, let's see. So just wanted to give the committee a heads up on this. This will be showing up on the March 10th board meeting. This is the agreement with Montgomery County IU regarding their 22-23 services budget. This isn't the all-inclusive of special ed costs and things like that. This is specifically for, as you'll read here, Office of Community and Government Relations, Office of Professional Learning, and the Office of Technology Services. So the kind of the non-instructional type of services that we're receiving from the IU. Of course, I didn't open this recently enough, so I decided that it would fail on me. I will. 1 second. Should go through the little spiel here as far as what the IU is basically detailing how it's calculated based on the enrollment and then the weighted average daily membership of our district and the aid ratio. So if those factored together then dictate what our contributions are for these services. It's an important stuff. All of it's important, but
Yep.
highlighted it. I didn't see it. Oh, there it is. So here is the total of the proposed budget for the membership services. And you'll see Upper Perk down here at toward the bottom. Let's go away, so it's not away.
Hey, it does that.
All right, just do that.
There you go.
All right. So breakdown between each of the services that we're receiving. You'll see here, $1,609. Office of Community and Government Relations, $3,542. Tech Services, roughly $30,000, and then total. This is the total for the current year, $35,024, and then the budget amount for the $34,920 that's going to show up then on the March 10th. So it's actually it's a decrease, which is nice, of a couple of bucks. Not a whole. I don't know that there's a whole lot else to be said on the IU on this budget. It's just the services that they're providing the district in these specific areas.
Okay. All right.
And they haven't increased that budget in 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So the fluctuation just has to do with our enrollment basically, and then any changes to our
The
our
calculation
factor and
itself.
stuff. But
Yeah.
the budget itself, they've kept very steady.
Okay.
We'll see that if,
I think their services are invaluable, actually. Yeah.
to Judy's point, you know, this was the 21-22, and this is the 22-23, and
Okay.
the change overall is a net zero. It's just
Moved it around a
who
little.
shares which amount across the districts.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions with?
Good. Looks good to me.
Go back to the agenda. Moving into the 22-23 budget. It's kind of a moving target. It's probably not going to present the same way as far as what we may have done in the past as far as PowerPoint and everything like that. We will be doing that when it comes to presentations to the full board, and to be honest, if the committee feels that we want to move in that direction for the committee meetings, I'm more than happy to do that. But for now, I'll bring up what we've been working on, which, don't get alarmed, it's a lot of numbers, but I'll walk through the specifics. Starting left to right here. So we started with, as a comparison, to the 21-22 budget. Essentially, I'll go through how we've so far gotten to the 22-23 estimates for the budget. It was essentially taking the compensation plans and the teacher's contract and factoring in everybody basically achieving a satisfactory review. Most of the time that's the case, so if everybody achieves a satisfactory review, they'll be entitled to their designated raise that's listed either in the CBA or in the specific compensation plan. So essentially, went through the list of employees. If it was, I'll say from the CBA standpoint, since it's undecided at this point as far as what that increase looks like, this factors in simply a step change, so everybody would move on it assumes everybody moves on the 21-22 salary matrix as it currently stands. So there's no additional raise built into that at this point. So this is pretty much at a minimum what the salary increase could look like, just because it is an unknown. I know we're going to be working through that with negotiations, and I know that we're going to see kind of changes as we go, but this was a kind of a first look when it comes to what salaries and benefits look like, and specifically then with the changes to, the anticipated changes with the compensation or the CBA. So as that changes, we'll be readdressing this at future meetings to make sure that you guys have the most up-to-date information. But as for now, as I said, it's simply taking, if you have a teacher at master's step 12, for this purpose, they're now master's step 13.
Okay.
Anybody who's at step 16 remained at step 16, which is still at the max amount per the 21-22 matrix. I want to make sure I don't lose anybody, so.
Quick question,
Yeah.
is this strictly professional staff?
This is not, this is total.
This is total, oh,
But
good.
the
Okay.
most complicated part, or the one that I wanted to get across the most, was that this doesn't build in any additional raise, to the teacher's contract. So this is as if until 21-22,
Right.
everybody moved basically 1 year worth of experience, but nothing else built in.
Right.
Is there a built-in for, I know we have like a certain amount raised built in for, our custodians,
Yep.
our food handlers, so on and so forth. Are those raises
Yes.
in here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So it's moving the teachers their normal step, but no changes because we don't know, because we're negotiating the CBA.
right.
Right.
Okay,
And
I got it all.
I could have built assumptions in. I feel like we haven't had enough conversation, like negotiation.
Right,
to get to
venture a
really-
guess.
It may have just been a blind guess, you know, based on historics.
So I'm not seeing something here. I mean, I'm not getting something.
Okay.
So unless you didn't get to it yet. So at the bottom, there's staff budget increase and budget increase. One's 433,000, one's 1.5 million. Yeah, the two bottom,
Oh, yep.
staffing, no additional
Yep, all
retirement.
the way here on the right.
Yeah.
You're
What,
just-
what
you're
is
just
that?
you're just
I'm
jumping
sorry,
ahead.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'll get to that, I promise.
Okay, I'll shut up. I'll leave you alone.
So with factoring in the professional staff, moving the staff, and the other staff either achieving a satisfactory review, so some of the compensation plans result in a 2.5% increase. So the Act 93 is a 2.5% increase. Administrative support is a 2.5% increase. Maintenance and custodial is 2.5%, but I think the paraprofessionals are 50-cent increase. So instead of a percentage, they've been adjusted 50 cents per hour, still maintaining the same scheduled hours.
Okay.
And so all of that's already been factored into this estimate. The $28,080,292.28. So looking at the current projected budget versus the 21-22 budget for this year, it's an increase of $169,693. So say roughly $170,000 just for the same staff, no increase in the CDA. It's a pretty straightforward amount as far as this is the amount that we're going to incur with everybody, same people here, just next year, be about $170,000.
Quick question.
Sure.
What catches my eye is the decrease between like the function codes, 2831, we went from 194 down to 190, 3210, we went up, 3250. What are the function codes? Who do they correlate to? I know the various
Sure.
groups.
These ones specifically, 2831 is human resources. The 3210 is student activities. 3250 is athletics. So when I was going through this, we were basically seeing what the budget was versus where our actuals have been, and try to make adjustments for those actual costs that we've been incurring. These are all the way up. I mean, I scrolled down, but I can absolutely send this out to show the increase or decrease in any of the particular areas.
No, the high level view is fine. I just wanted to know what the groups affected by. Say HR, we had somebody retire or leave or something, that could explain it. And it wasn't much of a decrease. So I was just looking at that. But the student activities, so basically that is covering all of our supplementals and things like that, which is where we're getting that.
Supplementals, and then also, is there anything else in there? No, it's going to be the supplementals. So I started getting away from salaries and benefits. I was thinking about other costs that go into that. So no, that's going to be the supplementals. The athletics is going to be,
That's the catch-all for basically all of our student
it's-
activities, which would be, yeah.
Yep. And then, athletics is going to be the AD, it's going to be any of the coaching, game help, athletic workers. That includes the ticket takers,
Okay.
everything like that.
That's fine. Thank you.
Sure.
So what's the highlighted additional staff?
So, just wanted to put this out there. We're discussing these internally at this point, and it's not been fully fleshed out. But at this point, Dr. Roach had asked, hey, what are our staffing needs? What does everybody think that we're potentially in need of? And then we'll be addressing that and kind of as we get through the budget and get further down the road to see what is needed, what may be able to be pushed off a year or two, or if anything can get retooled, in any other positions. So right now it's kind of in draft form, but it is an additional staff potential ask of $637,000. But really, it's going to come down to then what can we afford? So that might be the ultimate wish list.
Well, no, the wish list is over.
The wish list is, the wish list is meaningless.
So as I think I said to you and the guys in the past, I'm trying to keep a 5-year projection on staffing and sharing it. It's not ready to share just right yet, but we're still working through that. Maybe ask what the needs are, we'll see it, and then kind of work through that. So right now, that's just a whole number. We'll keep working through that in the next, I think, next 2 meetings, I think we'll be able to flesh that out a little more, and then share with you the list and see what would get pushed off. Like, for example, the network engineer for technology got pushed off for 2 years. That was just, but it was on there. But what we don't want to do is come haphazardly, oh, we need this, oh, we need that, oh, we need it. Like, let's have a plan, let's talk about it, let's look at it. Let's look at it, let's project it out a little bit, or that could, the cost of not doing that this year, maybe next year, that type of thing. So it's just a lot of conversations and balancing.
Okay.
So as far as if you were to include that increase over the year, instead of 170,000, it could be 806,000. But we'll keep working on that list and seeing what the priorities are. Continuing on, so Social Security, payroll taxes are just kind of what they are. There's no negotiating on that. Unfortunately, there's no negotiating on PCERS either. As much as we wish there could be, unfortunately there's not. What I did want to point out is that with $170,000 worth of additional salaries, it actually, it results in then roughly 149, I won't round that one up, $149,000 worth of additional PCERS contributions. And you kind of go, all right, well, wait, this doesn't make any sense. How are the PCERS contributions only $20,000 less than what your actual salary contributions are? And that's because the PCERS rate is increasing from 34.94% to 35.26%. And that change is going to be across your entire range of salaries. So that is not just applied to the 169,000, it's applied to the 28 million.
Yep.
Let's get it in here. So I just wanted to show, again, kind of that non-negotiable increase that we're kind of locked into based on PCERS, based on the state. It's continuing to, projected to continue to increase upwards of 2029. I think it might be even further out than that. And it's going to, we're at 35.26% for next year. I do think that it's projected to hit 39.
Maintain this.
I don't know.
I don't really know.
Don't worry, they'll fix it before it gets here.
They've made changes to the PCERS pension program essentially, and the way that the payouts, that your pension is calculated. So, for instance, I used Megan because she's here. So, being new to PCERS at the public schools, she falls into a different class of PCERS than I do than Alan does. So. There's a change in 2011 and 2012 that they tried to correct some of the unfunded liability issues that PCERS has, and since then they've made another change which then impacts new staff. So my concern to some level is public schools used to be, you can get into the school system, you have good pension, you have good benefits, and there's a real selling point. The pension becomes less and less the selling point, and it becomes more and more of a holdup when it comes to board members and administration, when it's a real hard sell to say it's going to cost an additional 35.26% for a staff member, and that staff member is not, if they're new to the district or new to schools in general, new to PA public schools, they're not gaining the full benefit of what the pension used to be. the majority of that 35.26% is actually paying for the unfunded liability that was incurred 20 years ago. We say 15 years ago, but I'll pick on Sandy. We're paying for Sandy's retirement today
Yeah.
because, and it's funny to pick on Sandy, but because there were unfunded liabilities in the past. So I know I've spoke to Keith.
And that's not just our district,
It's not,
that's
no,
state.
no, no, it's
Yeah, right,
not just
yeah.
to pick on Sandy, that's to pick on
Yeah.
every
Right.
retired anybody who's currently pulling a pension benefit. Everybody's subject to this. It's just.
Plus,
the-
isn't there now like a bubble of people that are getting the biggest amounts, and the people funding, the newer people can't keep up.
Right.
To begin with.
Yeah, so
To begin with.
one of the changes that was implemented in 2012 was basically a cost share. So if PCERS didn't or doesn't, I guess, meet their actuarial requirements or their return rates, so if they needed to return 7%, if they return 6.9% as far as their investments, the contributing members have to absorb some of that. So, for instance, at 7.5% is my contribution. When PCERS didn't hit their target investment results, then it bumped up to 8%. So it's limited, so that can only happen so often. It can only change. They can only implement that increase, I think, every 3 years. I think so. It locks that 8% in for 3 years. If they don't hit that again, it could go up to 8.5, I think. I don't want to be misquoted because I'm not 100%. I have to refresh my memory on it. But they did build in some of these protections from underfunding or continuing to underfund the
But that was only for new people coming into the program, like
people new.
somebody who's been
since-
paying in for 30 years.
Right,
Theirs did not go up,
correct.
but yours did because you joined after
Yes.
that date.
Any of those changes, so they have classes, so
You need
there's
to change it for
there's
everybody.
so from
I'm just saying. That-
2000
Preaching to the choir,
Yeah.
no problem.
I guess it's a tougher sell to say we're going to start changing contribution rates and what everybody is locked into. So they basically, you're locked into that contribution for your entire tenure at any PA public school. So you make this one-time election, whether or not you want to be in, for me it was TE or TF. You had 60 days from your start date to make that election, and then that dictated whether at the end of your retirement or at the end of your career, the way that it's calculated out either had a 2 times multiplier or 2.5 times multiplier. And I could do another whole presentation on this.
Someday I
Probably
would
have
actually
Renee
love
Mallon
to
come
see
in and
that.
do it from the payroll perspective.
Right.
Sorry, Judy. But I just
I just said someday I'd actually kind of like to see that, not right now in the middle of budget season, obviously.
No.
But it is a big mystery to, I think, most of us on the board. We just know that for some reason, we have to pay 35%,
right.
and it keeps going up. But the people they're not actually seeing any better benefits from that, and it'd be nice to actually understand all that.
I mean, in all honesty, they're probably going to see worse benefits.
Right.
Now, the pension in and of itself, I can only say that so much
The
because
state
there's
needs to put more money
the
in.
pension piece, there's the defined benefit piece, which is like your traditional pension, and there's the defined contribution piece, which acts more like a 401k or a 403b. They could have a better rate of return in their elected, defined contribution piece, but most likely that's not going to be the case. But I can't just say blanket statement, it's a worse benefit. From a presentation standpoint, it's a lesser benefit, and it continues to cost the district more and more. And the new employees, as they come in, they're subject to higher contributions. So you essentially, yeah, they're going to pay more for a lesser benefit, which is getting back to what I was trying to, I think, hit on, was that makes attracting new employees, even just new teachers in general, not just stealing, I want to try and steal a teacher from Perk Valley or Boyertown or anything like that. It becomes less and less attractive as a career choice if you're going to say, if you're a dedicated teacher and that's what you want to do and that's what you've always wanted to do with your life, that's one thing. But if you were a nurse and you could be a nurse at a hospital or you could be a nurse at a school, the benefit there, I'll pick on nursing. But,
I'm following exactly what you're saying.
It may make it more difficult to attract personnel in the future, even from, I'll pick on the accounting side, I could pick on food service. It just a kind of food for thought to throw out there.
Well, any of the industries associated with the district, whether you're a custodian or whether you're a network engineer, or principal, or, day-to-day teacher, it's terrible going forward because looking at these, and this has been in effect for 20 years now that we've been dealing with this, the constant raising of the rates for Beezers because of deals that were made 30, 40 years ago. Guaranteed return on investments. This is not like any other company to where we're funding an employee's retirement. Locally, look at Bethlehem Steel or Allentown Steel, Allenwood Steel down in Conshohocken. Back in the 70s, 80s, when the steel industries hit the slumps, all these people thought they had their retirements, and
My brother-in-law lost
the
his entire
owners
retirement.
picked it up, walked away with it, and there was nothing could be done with it. Whereas versus the Beezers, that's guaranteed by the state, and they're laying it off on all the taxpayers instead of pulling it from other areas of interest that they could pull from. And looking at the continuously rising rates, there is no end in sight for those to go up and hit a peak and start coming down again, because we're still having to deal with, until they fix the retirement system, we're still having to deal with funding those liabilities, those unfunded liabilities going forward. So, we're going to hit 50% at some point, and people are just going to revolt.
I'll say it's not projected. They haven't projected that out to 50% yet, but it's up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to spend too much time
No,
on this,
okay.
because I agree. I think we probably would benefit from an entire meeting just on it. But I have one quick question. Does a district have any option to say, we're not going to do Beezers anymore? We're going to offer all of our employees a
401k.
401k or a 403b?
As far as I know, no.
No.
I haven't heard any conversations about it. And
Obviously you wouldn't be
guarantee
able
it
to
is-
pull out the ones you already
Right.
have in it, but I'm
The
wondering
problem-
if new employees.
Right. Honestly,
Yeah, because that would be
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
attractive
Support
at this
the old
point
ones.
then.
So the new class that Beezers has 3 new classes. I think it was 2019. One of the options is a complete defined contribution plan.
Okay.
So it essentially does
Run
do
by
that.
Beezers, though.
But it's still kind of run through Beezers or it's through their third-party BOYA to kind of run that program. I'll say that while it's kind of an interesting or good idea, do the lights keep flickering?
Yes.
Okay.
It's right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'm like-
You are not having a stroke.
I'm like, any trouble? Glad Judy's here.
Just in case. Ocular migraine much?
It would only fix so much, and it would take still an extended period of time to fix because the majority of the $9.9 million that we're going to send to Beezers is for
People who are already retired.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be an expense to the district at that magnitude, essentially because we have employees that have retired and are pulling the benefits and are getting their pension payments. So as far as, the short answer is I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about it, but it's an interesting concept to just let your hands clean. But
Yeah, but as long as the new ones are supporting the old stuff,
The new ones are
there's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
so
So is it cheaper to hire hitmen
No.
No, I'm
no.
kidding.
It's
I'm
being
kidding.
recorded.
I know,
Is it cheaper to hire what?
Hitmen. You guys all know I have a good sense of humor. However worked it may be.
Some others don't.
It's all right, I don't care.
Yeah,
It was a
I'm
joke.
at that age.
Yeah.
So essentially, looking at the 170,000 that is essentially built into the compensation plans, roughly 149,000 that's built into using those figures from a salary perspective into the retirement calculation, and that increase from 34.94 to 35.26. Essentially, it adds another 150,000. These are essentially non-negotiable amounts. So as we stand now, 319,000. So $319,000 worth of non-negotiable salary and salary retirement increases over the current year budget. And then just want to point out also, we do have our second look rates on medical and prescription. Dental and vision, don't have those, so those are still based on an estimate from the current year, but anticipating roughly $115,000 increase in the total cost of benefits of medical, dental, vision, and prescription at this point. So if we still have all the same people receiving all the same benefits at the new retirement rate, we're looking at $433,624.97 worth of a budget increase from a staffing and benefits perspective. Just stipulate that doesn't include any changes to the CBA. It doesn't include any additional staffing. And I'll get to Melanie's question from earlier.
Thank you.
So if we move down into this lower section, this includes the staffing increase based on the current staffing, and then
Oh, it's me, it's my electric's out.
So current staffing plus the additional staffing that Dr. Roach and I were discussing and talking about that we're still in the process of reviewing. The retirement impact that those positions would have, and then also the impact on medical, dental, vision, prescription. That's assuming an average rate as far as benefits as medical and dental. So rather than take everybody, and assume that these new positions, everybody would be family 10/20/70, which would be the highest tier, highest cost. What we did was take the average cost for the medical plan. So if we have 324 employees that take the benefits, here's the average cost for the new employee. So it's still a semi-realistic approach. I didn't want to make it and say, okay, well, we're going to take the most conservative, and everybody is family and is a $20,000 cost. So this is somewhere kind of in the middle based on our current makeup of employees. So in total, with that additional staff, it's then approaching 1.478 million. Just wanted to put that out there as far as the total change that would be the impact of any additional staff, because it's not just the salary, but it's also the retirement. Obviously, in this situation, I should have added the Social Security and workers' comp and unemployment as well for the additional staff. So it's still, on second look here, it's still a little low.
The only comment is on your titles down the bottom, you have no additional positions.
That's why I
You
got
just
me
need to change that, and that's
confused.
what threw
That's why I was confused.
I was very confused with that.
Me too.
Sorry.
I'm like, it's the
I-
same thing. Why is it that much more?
I worked that out in my mind, I figured that's what happened, copy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
paste.
Sorry.
Not that I've never done it before.
But it's important to note that what's not there is anything for negotiations, is nothing.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Worked-
Yes.
Nothing worked in just yet, so that'll be another
Yes.
spreadsheet.
Yep,
Part of
of
that,
happiness, yes.
so part of that may be to not just make an assumption of where it's gonna end up, and
Right.
or is it just a ballpark figure, but,
Thank you for pointing out that my copy and paste was. So that's kind of the overview of salary benefits, with the current staffing, and then I guess the real caveat to Dr. Roach's point is it's not taking into account any impact to the negotiations and
That we already have.
new CBA. So, if that were to make an assumption that this 169,000 is potentially low, when it comes down to wages, that these non-negotiable budget increases are probably likely more than 433,000. Could factor something in if the committee would like, to see some sort of estimate, but I know that
well, that could probably happen in negotiations committee
Yeah.
discussions, when we're having those conversations and going back
Yeah.
and forth. And-
I don't think you need to worry about that
No.
until we have even a little bit of a handling on that. I mean,
Okay.
I think you'd just be making work for yourself that you
Yeah.
don't need to do. I think the board can wait for
Yep, I
a
agree.
little truer numbers. Why do all that work?
I agree,
We appreciate the offer.
Here's the baseline information, and as we know more, how the
The
negotiations
baseline is
will-
scary enough, quite frankly.
Exactly.
Truthfully, as I was putting it together, I did the same thing, and I went, okay, I mean, I'm gonna have to say, here are the no-nonsense costs, increases as they currently stand.
Because remember, we have to raise taxes just to get back to our zero budget.
Zero, yeah, we know.
So this is scary.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions, or anybody want to say anything different, as we go forward? Just
No, that's a good
asking
idea.
for feedback here, since normally we've done a presentation on a PowerPoint. As I said, going forward, we'll probably move in that direction as far as having a full presentation and hear the specifics. But I kind of wanted to show the background information, the inner workings of kind of the calculations and how we kind of got to these figures. So hopefully it's helpful,
Yep,
just kind of a different perspective on it.
yep, I like it. Thank you.
I like the numbers. I actually like the Excel spreadsheet better than a PowerPoint, to be honest with
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing the detail. I love detail.
I know Melanie does.
I love my detail.
So,
Yep, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That's where you find the devil.
I was gonna say, I think once we get used to it, it'll actually be less questions for you
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
more.
Okay.
I agree.
Because we'll be able, once we understand it all, we'll be able to find the answers ourselves and not be like.
I was just gonna
Sure.
say, you don't have to give us scenarios, because I think we can kind of figure that out.
Yeah, so I like this, thank you, Dan.
Yep.
And if anybody's watching this video, I mean, just the fact that we have a definitive increase of minimum 433 just to meet our current obligations. They can make their own assumptions on what happens when we do collective bargaining increases and
Yep,
project it out for themselves.
Right.
yep.
So that was
Salaries and benefits
salary,
and
benefits, and
staffing.
staffing. The 21-22 projection, I will pull up what we were working on. It's still a work in
Right?
progress. So Megan and I have been working on it, trying to kind of project out what our anticipated financial results are going to be for the 21-22 year. And for, I know the next question is probably going to be, what was it for 2021?
Yeah, I know. Still didn't get it
Still,
yet?
we're still working on it. Honestly, it's, a lot of that is on me as far as not having the final financial statements from the audit yet. I'll chalk it up to just chaos on my end, but, that ultimately that's going to fall on me. So we're still working through the audit. They're actually going to be back on site on Thursday to complete their single audit, which is of the federal programs, and wrap up and some of the other testing that they need to do. So normally all of this is done a while ago. It's done in the fall.
Yeah.
And just due to some of the turnover, mostly me, not just not keeping it on track. That's on me. So.
Well,
So as
first
far as
time
2020,
yourself,
as
yeah.
far as 2021, like I said, I swear I will give that to the committee and the board as soon as it's in. But as far as 21, 22, I said, we're working through it. This is pretty basic, if you can tell. Essentially taking where we stand currently fiscal year to date. I apologize, because this one it looks like it's pretty slapped together, so I will apologize for that. Fiscal year to date, as of today, and then anticipated or projected expenses and revenues for the remaining part of the year. They still seem low, so on first look, I was reviewing this and just, it seems low. I'm hesitant to say that this is really the projection as it is at this point, but honestly, this is based on the numbers that we currently have in Skyward, and then based on anticipated revenues and expenses coming, from March through the end of the year. This is what I have at this point. So essentially, the biggest piece would be the use of fund balance to cover the deficit of revenues of $61.2 million and expenditures of $64.5 million. So still anticipating using fund balance of roughly $3.2 million at this point. Like I said, this one gives me a little bit of pause just because it doesn't give me the warm fuzzy feeling as far as 100% positive in these. But this is the best information that I have at this point, and I would be remiss if I didn't provide the committee that information as it currently stands.
Then it's what, 3.7?
3.2?
Sorry, yeah,
3.27.
3.27, that's
Deficit.
deficit.
Yes.
That's with pulling the money out, or is that with pulling the money out to close the budget, or back in June?
That includes,
Because what do we pull, 4 point?
yeah, so this would be, so as far as the 21-22 budget was anticipating 4.7
Okay.
or 4.5 million of fund balance.
So is this using that 4.7 and then being in the whole 3.2?
No, this
This
is.
is only using-
This is only using
3.2 of the 4 point.
4 point.
Okay.
Okay, that's why I just didn't.
Yeah.
No, was
Yeah, no,
this-
no,
was
I'm
this-
sorry.
was this-
No, it doesn't
or was
mean
it-
it's not 7 or 8 million.
Well, that's what I mean.
Right.
Not in addition to.
I didn't know if we, when you balance it, it's 61, 61, or whatever the numbers are.
Right.
And now we're even further, so we've used the 4 point, and then we're going even deeper, which I would be shocked.
Yeah,
Right.
no.
Right, no, that's not the case. And this is, the projected additional expenditures. There are other spending that's coming down the pike as far as, excuse me. I mean, we have the bond payments that are already fixed. We know what those amounts are. But any of the additional spending that may or may not have occurred thus far for, budget ESER 3 spending that we had budgeted, just, it's still a little bit of an unknown when it comes to what the remaining revenues and expenditures are going to be for the rest of the year. So
So that does or it doesn't include the ESSER funds?
It does. It includes what we've spent to date overall. So that's whether it was budgeted use from local funds, state funds, or federal funds, that is a total spend year to date. And then same as the projections is a anticipated use of any of our budget funds. So as you know, you'll recall when we budget, we have 3 sources of revenue that are going to fund basically all of our expenses. The biggest piece is the local, second biggest is the state portion, and then the smallest is the federal. Even with the ESSER funds, even with all the federal funds that have come in, the federal funding is the lowest percentage of our total funding. So I think normally, our locals, 44
Yeah.
million, give or take, about 20 million in state, and then the balance is made up from the federal or use of fund balance, which is basically is a form of local support.
So just real quick, I want to make sure I understood that correctly. What you're saying is, so where you have projected additional, you have the 10 million for revenues, is that ESSER funds? Some of it?
Some of it is.
Okay.
So some of
Have
it
we
is-
actually received that money, or is it promised money?
No, so we're receiving that, the way that it's.
Well, it's a legitimate question.
It is.
It's a legitimate question, totally
No,
agree.
it is. So
Totally agree.
the payments are coming in on a regular basis.
Okay.
It's based on your filing. So as you file, basically proving that you're expending the
Right,
funds, the revenues come in, kind of in tandem.
Okay.
So those do reflect receipt of the ESSER funds, and they're different than any of the other federal or state subsidies, the basic ed, special ed funding, and transportation funding, in addition to real estate per cap transfer, taxes, and interest income, and all that stuff. And then the expenditures at this point, and the big expenditures, payroll is going to be, so I guess the really the time. So when you look at fiscal year to date, you see $50 million worth of revenue, $38 million of expenditures. It looks great. Unfortunately, the way that our revenue stream works is we get a lot of I get all of our revenue basically up front in the form of real estate taxes and per cap, and then we're basically need to maintain that and to sustain operations through the rest of the year. So you see that it kind of flip-flops from March through the end of the year, where all of our payrolls, continue to hit. Our bond payments hit in May. Transportation, we're still paying that on a regular basis. All of our normal, keeping the lights on and water, everything like that, we still need to maintain, even though we've already received the majority of our revenue streams. So.
So in our original budget, we'd expected a $64 million budget, correct? I think that's what we
I think that's
basically
where it
approved
was,
last
yeah.
year, right?
Yep.
So,
So let's
out of-
come in pretty low.
yeah, so say expenditures are basically on track. It's the revenues. Where is it, our local and our real estate taxes that are not coming in, or?
No, I think that those have come in. There's always delays in the subsidies as well. Not to the point where they don't fund it.
They just dawdle.
The question is there one area where you think we're going to have the biggest shortfall?
Honestly, I'd have to do a little more digging before
Okay.
giving an educated answer on
No problem.
on where that stands. As far as I can tell, the real estate taxes, and I'll give you a definitive number next time we talk, just to make sure that being transparent with it. Normally, we budget 96% of the anticipated revenue. So once we figure, we calculate taxes, and say it was $40 million based on collection rates from the past forever, years. Roughly, we we collect about 96%. So we calculate then, we take 40 million, 96% of that, and then that's the budgeted revenue. And so as far as I recall seeing in any of our financial reports, the local revenue seems to be on. Whether there was delays in the state or federal, I have to do a little more digging on that.
And what's worse is it looks like the state has, why do they have such a big gigantic surplus? And why aren't we getting it? Like, why aren't the school districts getting it? I don't get that. There's something I don't get about that. It's the whole rainy day fund of the state, not here, but.
What's it doing? Oh, it stopped. That's where I get it.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure, one more question. So we're just going to make the assumption that these numbers are correct, even though we don't.
Okay.
All right. So you're saying for this year, we're going to fall about 3.2 million short.
Correct.
Right? But we knew that when we
Yes.
approved the budget.
We planned 4.7 short.
Right.
Correct.
So
Yeah, so
we're not really falling short, I guess is what I'm saying, because we already knew we weren't going to have that money.
right. Yeah, so essentially, and I'm.
So it's not that all of a sudden our real estate taxes have come down or anything. It's just,
Right.
we knew,
We had a budgeted.
we didn't have it.
Yeah, we had a budgeted
Okay.
deficit essentially, and a planned use of fund balance. So essentially, if this was, let's say, $1.3 million less of the use of fund balance, essentially we're off $1.3 million when it comes to using the fund balance. So we're essentially, in essence, a surplus of 1.3, still a deficit of 3.2.
No, but that's exactly
I'm trying to-
what my head was working out.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to make sure. It was like, okay, so in actuality, it's not as bad as we had, hopefully, if these numbers are even close. It won't be quite as bad as we had anticipated.
Based on these numbers, yes.
Right, that's what I said, based on these numbers.
I do, like I said, I do want to take a little more time and
Right, we're not going to hold you to that.
make sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree, I put it in front of you. I'm pretty much,
It's on recording.
I'm pretty much holding
Yeah.
myself to it at the same time if there are whatever differences do come out.
All right.
Just caveat, letting you know.
It's okay.
Heads up.
We get it. We get it. I mean, that's why it's called budget, not done. Not done. No, never done.
So that was pretty much the 21-22 in a very concise nutshell.
Yeah, that's a short-lived nutshell. That's okay.
But I like that one.
I did too. It's easier to understand.
If this is all I need to do going forward, I
Yeah,
mean,
right?
I'm sold.
Yeah, you're on it.
Hey, you heard that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So if there are any other questions on 21-22 projection or salaries and benefits, more than happy to entertain.
No,
Mhm.
being the fifth one, I feel like I get it. I feel like I get it here. And it's just, we still have so many variables yet. Well, the biggest one is the variable, so the salaries
Yeah.
are the biggest one and the biggest variable.
Something I want to mention, maybe I'll read it, but I think it's the right thing to do, is to share just an update on ESSER funds in general. We've been working on that. Had a big meeting today with our team to go over that because it was we have to submit a submission by next Tuesday, of the initial plan that's there. So, and I really want to ask the board, how do you want to get an update? We had talked about updating in, not this week, maybe next week's board update. We did provide an update before to let you know how things are shaking out, or at least what the initial thoughts are on the money. And right now, we're really taking a full look at that 2.3 or 2.1, whatever the full amount was there of ESSER 3. Some of it's already been expended, some of it's already accounted for, some of it's some planning ahead, and some of it's some wishful planning. And that's kind of how we're trying to use the information we collected in the survey for the comprehensive plan. That we had questions there specifically about how money should be spent. We were trying to use the comprehensive plan as a backbone to make some of those decisions as well.
Makes sense.
And then there's some other discussion points in there as well. So I don't know where to finish up. I had to leave to go to a Zoom. But anyway,
Sure.
how do you want that information digested for the board and the board updates? Or at least take a look at it at first. And you want to add another finance opportunity. I mean, it's also a big topic of discussion out and about, right? X district's going to go buy a turf field
Right.
with their money. Okay, well, that's what they're doing. That's okay. That's, we've
I
taken,
thought you could only use it for certain things.
somehow that's going to help with the environment or something. I don't know.
Boy, I'll tell
But
you.
there's people that are making
Title
those
IX,
discussions.
that.
You are just making that up, right?
Oh, no, there's.
No, there
Somebody
is.
is actually using ESSER funds
Yeah.
for a field?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
Classroom improvement for the,
Help would be,
yes,
could be.
Yeah.
Sure.
or at the career center, using it for our future athletic trainers,
Right.
so that they can have students, they can have subjects out there to, need to be rehabilitated or something.
That's
they can
me
word
being
it.
creative.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Jeez, there you go.
Give me some time, I can come up with a whole line.
So we want to make sure that you're at least looped into what our thought process is and.
Yep, I would like to hear that.
Okay.
Because, yeah, we haven't had an update
Right,
on that in a
yeah,
while.
it's been a
I
while,
think
yeah,
that would be
agreed,
good.
agreed. And
That
I think
would
we're
be
still
good.
fleshing through it.
So Melanie, would you like to hear that at our next finance committee meeting, or would you prefer to hear it at a board
No,
workshop?
I think we can hear it here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Does that
we
sound
can hear
good
it here.
then?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, I'm just, again, I think it's the right thing to share it, that buys us a little more time, because we don't have submissions till next week. We can change things afterwards, it's a little more.
It's
a
just
little
the
more-
general.
Yeah, we have to
Right,
get it
because
in.
we have
we'll
to
make sure.
remember it shouldn't be
Yeah,
recurring.
but again, this is money
Recurring.
through
Yeah.
2024,
Right,
so you obviously have some contracted services that's being discussed, obviously staffing is a concern, because that whole piece
Mhm.
of, if
and then it's recurring, so
Agreed.
we've got to pay
Right.
for it going
yeah,
forward.
if it's meaningful, so.
Yep,
Anyway, just that's all I wanted to just get it out there to know
Okay.
where it was, because I want you guys to feel confident and have some input on it as well, as opposed to coming up at a public meeting and, we're doing something we shouldn't be doing, because we're not.
no, we know
We
that.
just know
I
that-
think we understand that.
I got you, but we had a meeting today, I thought it was a good timing to, whatever the outcome of that is for next week, and then we'll get it for the next
I
meeting.
think that would be great.
Good.
I have one more question, and it goes back to revenues. Are we getting any of our PlanCon money? Have we actually gotten any of it lately?
So we end up, we have to file after the bond payments are made.
Okay.
So in November, and then again in May.
Mhm.
Heck, and then, actually, now we have one in September and one in March too. Now I have to keep track of those as well.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
as we make
Yeah,
those, I'm sorry?
Oh, I just said, yeah, that's right, because we redid those.
Funded, yeah.
So as far as the funds that are coming in via PlanCon are essentially state filings that once we make the payment, and we can prove that we made the payments,
Mhm.
send them a bank statement and the invoice that we receive, or the statement we receive from either Wells
The bank.
Fargo or the
The
bank,
bank,
yeah,
right.
Wells or Wilmington Trust. We upload that to the state, and then we'll get the PlanCon funds.
Is that included in
electronically.
any of that revenue? Okay.
Yeah, so
Just-
any-
It just
anything
reminded me. I know, I was working on
Sorry.
it. I tried. I tried.
Sorry, you being so thorough, Dan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's,
Darn it.
and those are sizable dollar amounts. When they do come in, I can pull that up and show.
I
specific
can't remember
numbers
what
that
they
is.
were. I know I looked at it before.
I tend to hit the wrong one when I go to look at it. I do the one that is just an interest.
Yeah,
statement
I-
instead of
yeah,
interest, and I'm like,
yeah.
wait, why is that so low?
Why, where's that?
You said that we.
Yeah, it just, something popped in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, we
We were
talked
talking about,
that.
the bonds and everything, that we were doing the refunding, but those are actually going up for sale sometime now or in the next few weeks? Or,
They were projected to have gone up in January.
so we'll probably be hearing something from,
They didn't go. So,
no?
no.
Okay.
So as far as conversations with Jamie and getting everything to her, again, there's one more thing that I'm falling behind on. So to be 100% honest, as far as where we stand with that, it's still on my, in my court as far as getting information back over to them. So prior to doing the refunding, they require a whole host of information as far as basically from district specific information. They want to see where the financials are. And truthfully, part of that is going to be the 2021 audit that they're going to require to have on file prior to the refunding opportunities.
Makes sense.
I don't think we've lost out on that opportunity, I'll say that much. But I'll have to reach back out to Jamie and get revised numbers as interest rates have fluctuated and started ticking back up. That's on me as far as where we currently stand with that refunding.
If we got to a point where we hadn't sent it out, can we keep the ones we have if they're lower?
As far as the
old bonds that we're not refund them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because we said
Just
reserve
making
one.
sure. Just making sure.
Right, yeah, if interest rates.
Yeah, we have a minimum amount that we said we would do.
Yeah, so there's no harm, no foul at this point. We haven't lost anything.
No, we haven't, there was never any, say, opportunity or potential of losing. The only, it's cost benefit, so you're losing.
How much are you winning?
Opportunity loss, if the rates did tick up and if it was $400,000, it was in the 400s. And unfortunately, it could be at 300,000 as far as the savings, and essentially then we've lost out on the opportunity to refinance, or thinking of $100,000 over the course of the remaining life of the bond.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. That's all I could think of.
That's.
And I won't have a big bond, I won't have a big budget book to go with my other ones, right?
I mean, if, I'd have.
We have the
I don't care.
binders.
We have the binders. They're sitting over in.
They'll make
in the
one
office.
just for you.
Yeah.
I know.
As long as you don't open it up, we can make a binder for you.
Yeah.
It's a really skinny one this year.
A bunch of blank pages.
Exactly.
Yep.
There'll be numbers on the pages. It's just.
1,
No,
2.
we'll say there's-
We can't do that too, there's a lack of toner out there, we gotta.
Oh, that's right, yeah, that's right. Oh, I keep forgetting.
It'll be
yours.
handwritten, that's why it's taking so long.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Sorry, Megan, you're gonna have to handwrite that.
That's, yep, get on that, Megan, will you? Oh, boy. Okay,
And that was all I had.
okay.
No, we haven't mapped out, we talked about it today in terms of the next couple of meetings, the kind of piecing it together.
Yep.
Okay. I still have that, all right. You said-
And then we'll be working on the negotiations as we go, so at some point we'll have something on benefits and
We'll
something
fill it
on,
in as we go along.
something on salaries and,
Where we put that in. Did I send it to you?
Yeah, I think that this might be this is not the one you sent. This is- I'm closing it.
I put the extras in my calendar already, so that's good.
It was actually only one extra and then one shift in June.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So we talked about nothing at the workshop this week.
No, so I think this is what.
Okay.
That's what we said.
Just to make sure that you guys can feel confident, so on 14th, which was the new meeting, we're going to focus in on technology, facilities, transportation. And then the following week, the 21st, is the normal scheduled finance committee, curriculum, special ed, field services, and hopefully by that time, we'll have those new staffing requests
Okay.
ready to share. And then use the workshop on the 24th for, again, another overview, hopefully a better projection in revenue, and then you can see the other ones kind of getting ready for May. So,
Okay.
again, trying to be very systematic. And would that be helpful in the Friday update for the whole board to see, if you're interested in anything specifically to,
Actually, that would be.
Chime in.
Yeah, so in case
That would
somebody
be-
wants to see
you
a
know, if there's something
specific
specific?
topic.
Yeah, I was hoping some of our newbies would come.
yeah. But maybe this will help, but based upon this, that here's what the plan is moving forward
Okay.
for
I think
finance.
that's a great idea.
Yes.
I'll forward it to myself,
Thank you.
get it out of the,
Yeah, that was
Yes,
good.
Monday, June 13th, we did cross that out.
Okay. I can't think of anything else since the other stuff's all in progress.
Yeah?
Getting in progress, getting in progress. And then, yeah, so that's good to see where we're at. still looking forward to seeing that audit. though.
I-
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really sad. Can't help it.
So do we have a projected timeline on the audit?
Uh, I mean, I'd like to say that we have it for the March board meeting.
Okay, that'd be great.
I
If
don't
that's
have it.
possible, that
If
would be
not-
great.
If
If
not, in
not,
its
the workshop?
if not in its final form, at least we should have, figures to go along with it as they kind of fine tune everything once they're complete with their side. There's also the MD&A portion that we need to complete on our side, so then it's be as quick of a turnaround as possible once we have the figures from the audit. So that would be my only holdup with the 10th, is probably the turnaround of them completing their side, us completing ours, and then getting it back to them for final, kind of packaging. But it could be the 10th.
Okay.
If so, I'll definitely have it for the board.
Okay, good.
That sounds great. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
All right, anyone have anything else? If
I
not,
make a motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Well, thank everyone. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for the old info. And my electric's back on at my house. But I
Oh, that's
I have a generator, so it really doesn't matter.